There have been many surveys over the past several decades indicating most Christians, or so-called Christians, spend less than 10 minutes a day reading the Bible and praying. Meanwhile, those same people spend hours per day consuming secular music and entertainment. Many Christians see nothing wrong with this. Luke 11 contains several verses in which Jesus talked about light versus darkness. He said we should allow light into our body, but not darkness. This is a warning to the modern church that we need to examine what we are allowing into our hearts and minds. Jesus was praying in a certain place and taught his disciples how to pray. He told them to pray persistently. After that, Jesus cast out a demon. The crowds marveled. Some accused Jesus of using the power of Beelzebul to cast out demons, but Jesus refuted the logic of that argument and reminded the crowd that he was proving he was stronger than Beelzebul. Now let's pick up reading at Luke 11, verse 27. Now it happened that while Jesus was saying these things, one of the women in the crowd raised her voice and said to him, "Blessed is the womb that bore you, and the breasts at which you nursed." But he said, "On the contrary, blessed are those who hear the word of God and keep it." This is an interesting exchange. The woman praised the mother of Jesus. Most humans would be glad to hear compliments regarding their mother. However, Jesus always told the truth, so he pointed out that the people who obey God are the ones who are truly blessed. Verse 29. Now as the crowds were increasing, he began to say, "This generation is a wicked generation. It seeks a sign, and yet no sign will be given to it but the sign of Jonah." Luke thought it was important to point out that Jesus began speaking when the crowd began increasing. In other words, Jesus saw a crowd gathering and decided to describe his generation as a wicked generation. Why did Jesus do that? The people were wicked because they were seeking a sign. However, they should not have desired a sign because they should have believed the works of Jesus. Jesus knew they were going to ask for a sign, so he called them out on their wickedness before they had a chance to ask for a sign. Many people in our society subscribe to the philosophy that if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything. Jesus did not behave that way. Furthermore, today many believe in always speaking positively in order to build people up. Jesus did the opposite. He criticized his generation. He knew he had to tear away their sin and foolishness before they would be ready to accept truth and wisdom. Our generation needs to let go of the idea that we can build self-esteem by always speaking positively. Jesus did not live that way. Self-esteem is the result of actually accomplishing something. The best way to build self-esteem is allow people to fail, offer constructive criticism, and encourage people to try again and again until they succeed. Withholding negative statements and preventing people from failing does not help them. It actually hurts them. Giving people things they haven't earned does not build self-esteem either. Verse 30. For just as Jonah became a sign to the Ninevites, so will the Son of Man be to this generation. The people wanted Jesus to perform a sign, but he was the sign. His death and resurrection would be all the proof they would need. Verse 31. The queen of the south will rise up at the judgment with the men of this generation and condemn them, because she came from the ends of the earth to hear the wisdom of Solomon, and behold, something greater than Solomon is here. We read about the queen of the south in 1 Kings 10. She had heard about the wisdom and wealth of Solomon, so she traveled to Jerusalem to see if the reports were true. When she saw the wealth and wisdom of Solomon firsthand, she praised Yahweh. The people who formed the crowds that followed Jesus were there because they had heard of the miracles and teachings of Jesus. When they arrived where Jesus was and saw his deeds, they should have believed. They should not have felt the need to ask for additional signs. Verse 32. The men of Nineveh will stand up at the judgment with this generation and condemn it, because they repented at the preaching of Jonah. And behold, something greater than Jonah is here. The men of Nineveh repented even though Jonah did not perform miracles as Jesus did. Verse 33. No one, after lighting a lamp, puts it away in a cellar nor under a basket, but on the lampstand, so that those who enter may see the light. The eye is the lamp of your body. When your eye is clear, your whole body also is full of light, but when it is bad, your body also is full of darkness. Therefore, watch out that the light in you is not darkness. If therefore your whole body is full of light, with no dark part in it, it will be wholly illumined, as when the lamp illumines you with its rays. Jesus warned his listeners to pay attention to whether they were allowing light or darkness into their body. Jesus is light. The Bible is light. The world is darkness. There have been many surveys over the past several decades indicating most Christians, or so-called Christians, spend less than 10 minutes a day reading the Bible and praying. Meanwhile, those same people spend hours per day consuming secular music and entertainment. They are allowing much more darkness into their life than light. This may explain why modern churches have so many problems. Verse 37. Now when he had spoken, a Pharisee asked him to have a meal with him, and he went in and reclined at the table. But when the Pharisee saw it, he marveled that he had not first ceremonially washed before the meal. But the Lord said to him, Now you Pharisees clean the outside of the cup and of the platter, but inside of you, you are full of robbery and wickedness. You foolish ones, did not he who made the outside make the inside also? But give that which is within as charity, and then all things are clean for you. But woe to you, Pharisees, for you pay tithe of mint and rue and every kind of garden herb, and yet disregard justice and the love of God. But these are the things you should have done without neglecting the others. Woe to you, Pharisees, for you love the best seat in the synagogues and the respectful greetings in the marketplaces. Woe to you, for you are like concealed tombs, and the people who walk over them are unaware of it. Now one of the scholars of the law answered and said to him, Teacher, when you say these things, you insult us too. Jesus had specifically criticized the Pharisees. Apparently, this scholar of the law recognized that he and his fellow scholars were also guilty of tithing herbs while neglecting justice and seeking the best seats in the synagogue. Thus, he took the statements of Jesus as a criticism of himself and his group. I assume the scholar wanted Jesus to acknowledge that the scholars did not deserve criticism. Verse 46. But Jesus said, Woe to you, scholars of the law as well! For you weigh men down with burdens hard to bear, and you yourselves will not even touch the burdens with one of your fingers. Woe to you, for you build the tombs of the prophets, but your fathers killed them. So, you are witnesses and approve the deeds of your fathers, because it was they who killed them, and you build their tombs. Jesus did not give the scholars a pass. He clearly and forcefully declared that the scholars also deserved denunciation. There have been many surveys over the past several decades indicating most Christians, or so-called Christians, spend less than 10 minutes a day reading the Bible and praying. Meanwhile, those same people spend hours per day consuming secular music and entertainment. Jesus warned his listeners to pay attention to whether they were allowing light or darkness into their body. The Bible is light. The world is darkness. Many Christians, or so-called Christians, are allowing much more darkness into their life than light. This may explain why modern churches have so many problems. If we as Christians want to be the light of the world, we first need to fill our minds and lives with light instead of darkness. As long as most church attenders spend more time in darkness rather than light, the church will not have a positive effect on our society. Thanks for visiting Bible Mountain. If you have already joined my email list, thank you, and please tell others about Bible Mountain. If you have not joined my email list yet, please do so now. In order to join, go to BibleMountain.com, click on subscribe, and that will take you to a page where you can sign up. Your email address will not be sold nor given away. Once again, thanks for visiting Bible Mountain.